let's kick this thing off. If you guys can all hear me, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We've got 4 wonderful guests from all across the country that we're really excited to talk with, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves here pretty shortly. But before we hop into all that, I want to just say a big welcome from the Open Economy Initiative. We're really glad you joined us. If you're here in the audience, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube, we're on a mission to promote crypto commerce through education, and we're making our YouTube and Instagram accounts into a source of educational and hopefully entertaining material that so everybody can kind of follow along with us, get informed, and have some fun while doing it. So with that being said, I'm going to start the first of our introductions here tonight with our panelists, and we're going to be talking about really kind of how we've seen the space change since we've gotten into it, and where we think the space might be going, and what's exciting, what's new, and what maybe tips and tricks for helping figure out this adoption problem that everybody's been trying to really promote and push. And as the markets come up a little bit, are we seeing the next wave? We're not sure. We'll talk about what it's going to take to really see the mainstream public get into this place. So that being said, I would love to hear from Miss Donna Beasley out in Chicago. How are you doing tonight, and what's going on out there?
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. Chicago is really has a robust community of people in both crypto and blockchain. And one of the things that our state and the mayor at the time did, this was a few years back, is that they made a decision that they really wanted to be a major player in this space. And from that, they pulled state dollars and corporate dollars, and they launched the Chicago Blockchain Center. So that was one of the big things. And it's more like an incubator or an accelerator for companies that are going into the crypto space or the blockchain space, and also like an educational center. But that's like high level. Okay, so that's like the bigger players. What I really love about Chicago is the small community organizations like, the ones that, I'm a part of, that are really trying to educate and get people. In my case, I'm with the Chicago Women in Bitcoin, and just trying to, get women to get involved. Because when I started, the numbers were so low. And so that's one of the things. And the other challenge is getting Black and Hispanics community to get engaged. And so I'm in the MLS Bitcoin Club as well, and that's one of the things that we do. And and ours is not the only organizations. There's quite a few local organizations that are educating and introducing the cryptocurrency, Southside Blockchain, for example, just getting people to go into it even as a career. So that's what's happening in Chicago. We're moving along and growing. Of course, COVID has put a stop to some things, but that's where we are.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I definitely want to dive into a few of those things you mentioned a little bit later, but I mean, it sounds like stuff's really happening out there in Chicago, and you guys are kind of at the forefront of it, and even the government's starting to get into it, which is interesting to see. And I think we've seen a similar push kind of where we're at. They're getting a little more receptive to it. But Chris, I think your mic got unmuted. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. And I think Chris, you're next up on the list here out in New Hampshire. What's going on out there? How have you been?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for asking. My name's Chris Reitman, and I'm with Bitcoin Embassy, New Hampshire. And I'm also in the process of building out a convenience store. So this is not our normal Bitcoin background. And she just saw our place and stopped in and said, "Could I buy a Coke here?"
Thank you.
We're like, "That's so nice of you. Thank you. Have a great day." So next time we'll try to hook you up with Bitcoin so you can pay with cryptocurrency and save some money. Thank you. Enjoy your day.
That's great.
And that's how you do adoption. That's how we do things. So what Bitcoin Embassy New Hampshire is a organization that we started up a couple of years ago to do education, to teach individuals how to get involved in Bitcoin and blockchain technologies. We talk about the benefits, and we also work directly with businesses to help them. We find it most important to drive adoption in this area. It's all about the businesses. It's great if everybody knows what Bitcoin is, everybody knows what different cryptocurrencies are at a high level, but unless you actually give them a place to spend them, they're not really that interested. So that's what we do here. And that's it. I'll pass on to the next person.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's like a live demonstration there. That was nice. About how to do some adoption. Cool. I'm definitely looking forward to asking a few more questions kind of in that vein later on here. Yeah, moving along with the intros. Csilla, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and yeah, give us an update.
Hi, I'm Csilla, and I work with Matt with the Open Economy Initiative, and our passion is really to accelerate adoption and crypto commerce. We focus on trying to create crypto commerce. Colorado is a very unique state. We had a lot of support from legislators from day one, I want to say. We kind of follow the Wyoming blueprint. We did pass our Digital Token Act in 2019. So we were kind of the second or third, not sure about Montana. I think it's kind of working on their own blockchain legislation. We also have a very vibrant community. We have the ETH Denver every year, which has participants from 50 different countries. The only struggle I found, which is why I would love to learn from Chris, was getting companies to use Bitcoin. And I walked the walk and I tried, and it's very hard. And partly that was the regulatory uncertainty regarding the taxation, but there were also some issues with, just finding the right user interface that doesn't require extra work from those entrepreneurs. So I'm open to learn, and I want to see what everyone else is up to.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Chill. That's we will definitely be finding out the answer to that question here shortly. So yeah, with that, I'll turn it over to Mike out there in Connecticut. How are you doing, man?
Good, Matt. Thank you. Yeah, I'm fortunate that I live in Connecticut because I can go to New York and Boston fairly easily. So I get to go to the different functions that they have there and really get a pulse, whether that be consensus or other functions. So it's really a lot of fun. But what I found is in my community, I would do a lot of meetups, but there's still the people that they don't even know how to buy or even get onto Coinbase. So I'm finding that there's a lot of high level education, but what's missing, I think, is that entry level. And that's what I found myself helping people with. And I've been doing it quite a bit. So I started a training center called Crypto Training Center. And what I did was contact, other people in the industry or like our panelists here that are very knowledgeable. And we were poised to start teaching our classes until the COVID hit. So we were doing in-person classes, or we were ready to do that. But obviously we had to pause them. But we're looking forward to when it's safe to go back and do classes. But I have been doing some in-person training, like over virtual training. So, again, just like my other panelists, just trying to help move the space and just educate people, because there's a big interest, but there's that barrier that I'm looking to help people with.
Awesome. Yeah, I think everybody on the panel here would agree that we're trying to push the adoption forward and make sure that maximum amount of people kind of understand the concepts behind this at a level that they can see the benefit in it, potentially get involved if they want, and that there's not a ton of friction there. So it's exciting to hear about what you've done there and continue to do. So yeah, thanks for joining us. All right, I think last but certainly not least, we have Leon down in Dallas with the, what is that, stock to flow background there? What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, that's Plan B's stock to flow ratio chart. This hedge fund guy from the Netherlands. But yes, yeah, my name is Leon. I'm a host at the Dallas Bitcoin meetup. And it's more than Bitcoin now, it's more of a crypto meetup. And so I'm an OG Bitcoiner. I first learned about it in 2013. I actually had to use it to purchase this focus pill from an Indian website. So like my first use case with Bitcoin was actually using it to buy something. And I remember back then it was like $87 for one Bitcoin. And then when I went to purchase it again, it was $127, like a few months later. So at that point, I didn't care about the product anymore. I was like, wait, what is Bitcoin? So I did some digging, and in 2013, 2014, it was very light. I mean, there's not too much about it out there still. And I found the Dallas Bitcoin meetup. So I went there. It was like 6 people at the time, and basically got my mind blown away. I read the white paper and like was obsessed down the rabbit hole for the next 6 months on like, hey, this is truly a digital form of money. So my passions has evolved over the past decade to more educating people about what is Bitcoin, why it's important, and what we're actually starting to see is like the first steps of like a complete evolution of our financial system. And so it starts with like the basic concept of hard sound money, but there's so much there's so much above that is exciting. So I'm more into like the investing and trading and helping people figure out how to invest in it, because there's so much opportunity in this nascent asset class.
Definitely agree with you there. Well, cool. Thanks for sharing, and yeah, excited to hear your thoughts on some of these questions that we're going to be posing to everybody. But yeah, so with that, I mean, that kind of wraps up the intro. So hopefully everyone has a feel for who our panelists are and what they're doing and where they're at. And so the format for the rest of the evening is really just going to be a Q&A. I'm going to ask some questions to each one of the people on the panel, allow them to respond, and then if you're following along with us either on YouTube or on Instagram, make sure if you have a question, type it out in the chat there. We've got some chat moderators, and we'll pick that up and you get it answered live on air here by whomever you'd like to. So definitely make use of that, and I think we're just going to get right into it. And Donna, are you willing to go first? Can I start with you? Is that okay? I'm not sure if I can hear you. Let's see, but
it would probably help if I unmuted myself.
A little bit. It tends to work better. We've definitely all been there. But yeah, I'm really interested. I mean, we met briefly, I think last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, and Csilla had found out a little bit about yourself and the organizations that you're involved in out in Chicago, just doing some research. And so we reached out, had a nice phone call, and you're kind enough to agree to come on here and give us your time. So I really want to thank you for that, just right off the bat.
Absolutely.
And
anything to promote the cause, right?
yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think what I would be interested to know is what have you seen change kind of since you've joined the space, or since the last kind of market run up when there was a lot of public attention and growing attention on Bitcoin, that you either are kind of positively or negatively, or however you want to tackle that one. But what's been like a real significant or a big change you've seen?
Actually, there's been, since I got in it, there's really been a big change in the number of women who have gotten in it. I mean, when I got in it, it was maybe, and it wasn't that long ago, maybe 3 years, 4 years ago, it was just, maybe less than 10% of women were actually, buying Bitcoin or, seem to even be interested. And they have reports that are coming out that, 43% of women are investing in Bitcoin just in first quarter. And that more than 43% of women versus just a year ago, only 13% of women were even interested in the cryptocurrency space. And so that's big. And then around the world it's happening too. I mean, more women in India, for example, are investing in cryptocurrency than men. You've got, and of course there's reasons for that, because women in some of these countries, they can't own property, they can't, and so this is a way for them to take back some of that power. So I am optimistic. I have to say that in my own network of people, we are doing what Mike said. We work with a lot of grassroots people, and it's really a lot of hand-holding. But our audience truly is probably 75% female versus men. And, and of course we target women. So there's a reason for that. But it's really, as Mike said, there's a lot of hand holding. They don't really know what to do. And so we work with a lot of first timers and getting them in, one said, we do a lot of local community based training. And so, but our training is predominantly women. So that's the big change I've noticed over the last couple of years.
Well, that's awesome. And I think it sounds a little bit like, be the change that you want to see as well. You guys are making sure there's a friendly entry portal into the space for women. And you're seeing that women are actually taking advantage of that, signing up in these, really groundbreaking numbers that we haven't seen before. So that's awesome. Is there something that stands out to you, like kind of going on currently with that, the training or the adoption? I mean, where do you guys start with somebody? I mean, if someone has just joined up and, they don't know anything, kind of where do you start them in that journey, if that makes sense?
So we have in the community, we have the MLS Bitcoin Club. And so it is the whole camaraderie. It's people, we educate them from the very first step to the very first purchase. And, it's, I don't know, it's just when you're in a group with other women and you're doing it all together, it really makes, confidence. And then, we bring each other, we have the women bring other people in it, because people are scared to get into it. So by having someone they know in it and bring them to one of these classes, it helps us grow our numbers. And so that's the format that we use. We use the club format. We use the group and the group purchasing. I mean, that so we so it allows us and allows someone that would not normally have the courage, because we're walking them through every step of the way. Some of them have to open a wallet. I mean, just all the basics. We really have to do one-on-one a lot of times. So
Gotcha.
That's how we're doing it. We use the club format.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, it sounds. I'm trying to think here. I think most of the format, or the classes we did were kind of similar, like group settings where everybody's kind of going through it at the same time. I don't think I realized it then, but you saying it now it's makes everybody feel more comfortable, and it takes away some of that fear of just being at home on your computer by yourself and like, what am I doing again? Like, what am I downloading? What am I getting into?
Plus, it makes them feel like pioneers. In other words, you've got, you're not like, I won't call them early adopters, okay? But you've got them trying something that they might not have tried were they not in the group, were they not, attending the session. So that's, I think that makes them, try something they would not normally try. And once they get in it, though, man, they love it. So, it's getting them in.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a Chill. You found a tweet or no? Chill. I think Chill. You were showing me that tweet from Eric Voorhees, or somebody that's like, I don't know anybody who's like gotten into Bitcoin and then kind of understood the concepts behind it and the the impact on money and all of that, and then decided, oh no, this isn't this isn't for me. This isn't going anywhere, and it kind of rolled it up and threw it away. It's always like once people kind of find out about it and get that initial get over that initial hurdle, then they're usually in it, and they're in it in a pretty major way. So yeah, I love hearing about stuff like that. That's awesome. Well, okay, so let's see here. Next question I've got for you would be something that's new and that's exciting that's coming up, or that you're either involved with, or that you're seeing people work on. Is there anything in that vein that you can share with us, just kind of more geared towards current events?
Well, I'm kind of watching that whole Facebook thing with their coin, the whole Libra coin, and really, the reason that interests me is because there's 172 million people on Facebook, and we were just talking about how we're going to get people to adopt this stuff and how we're going to get the word spread out. And I think Facebook coming in as a player could have some potential good things. You never know, it could backfire, and they're already having problems. They can't get, they've been pushing it back and pushing it back. But I got my eye on Facebook and their new coin or their new, so we can see where that's going. So that's what I'm tracking.
Gotcha. Yeah, there was an article, I don't know if it was today or just this week at least, about talking about all of the influence that Facebook has on like smaller countries and politics around the world. And there was this one person who kind of released the report saying that they're basically presiding over what these countries get to share on social media and how they promote themselves and do their campaigning through Facebook. And like just the enormous amount of influence and power that Facebook held in these different places where that was like the main source of campaigning and awareness. And then to throw in a currency on top of that, I mean, they would really be holding all the keys to the castle. And so, yeah, I agree. That's a very interesting, something very interesting development to keep our eyes on and not let just sort of fade into the background and then come surprise us at some point in the future. Not looking forward to that. But okay, well, cool. That's definitely a good one. So the last question here I have then is more about like the path forward and what's next, and what do you see either with what you're doing or what other people are doing, like that's really helping to accelerate adoption, or that you wish there was more of, or kind of like, that's the standard, how do we get more people into the space, I guess, but I tried to frame it up a little nicer.
Well, one thing that I'm personally doing with a colleague of mine, Asada Kirkland, we actually we wrote a book about Blacks in Bitcoin. And the whole idea behind it is really to get the conversation going, get the engagement going. Should be up on Amazon soon. But the main role of the book is to get people to look at how it can, the benefits of being involved in the whole cryptocurrency blockchain industry, and what it, the potential that it could do. So that's, one of the things that, I'm doing to help educate people and just to, kind of spread the word, I guess you could say. The other thing that I really like is what Chris and Csilla are talking about, getting people to adopt Bitcoin. I'm talking about corporations and retailers to really adopt being able to pay for purchases. There is definitely growing and improving, but not nearly as fast as I would like to see it to happen. And so that's one of the things that I would like to, because as more companies, more a couple of NBA teams now, you can buy your tickets with Bitcoin and things like that. As it becomes more widespread, I think that will help, adoption, going forward. And the other thing is, of course, the club format. I think that's something that, even we're using it successfully in Chicago, but it could be done in other cities as well. So particularly for community groups. So those are three things that, I feel like, because it's kind of like, it's each person personally. I mean, what can you do to expand it forward? We can't, we can only impact our own meetup groups, our own, but, it's getting them engaged and getting more people to come to the groups. And I think so it's community by community.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, and that's something I myself, I think, had to learn, that it's not, it really is a community. I mean, you're trying to get someone to use this digital technology, and well, where does Bitcoin exist? Well, it doesn't really exist anywhere. It's on, the questions get weird, but it's really a community first approach. The longer that I'm in this space, and the longer I'm running groups and interacting with people and doing these meetups, it really does just come down to like a personal relationship. Who are you affecting? Who are you seeing? And who are you talking to about this stuff? And are they having a good experience? Are they excited? Do they want to join in with you? And it's just that personal touch, or that personal connection is something I think that gets overlooked in the space. But it sounds like that's not the case with what you guys are doing out there in Chicago.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Does anybody else have any questions for Donna about what they're doing, what she's talked about a little bit here, and what's going on out there?
I have a question for Donna. Oh,
I think we got two. So Leon, you go first, then we'll come to Chris.
Yeah, Donna, my question is, are you doing a pulse on like more women adoption in other countries globally? So you mentioned like India. Is there stuff like in Afghanistan or like other African countries, Southeast Asia? Like, what are you seeing?
Okay, I pretty much track India and Africa and London, because actually I got the idea for doing the Chicago Women in Bitcoin from the London Women in Bitcoin. So that's, I saw what they were doing, and I thought, oh man, we should do that here. But I do, I'm amazed at what's going on in some of these countries, in India and in Africa. They are definitely expanding. They're taking classes. There's some communities that are really training people to be in blockchain, so that they're actually, this is in South Africa, I'm sorry, and that are actually training people to get into this industry by the thousands. So they're trying to have that kind of an impact. I think what I have found is in a lot of these countries, in terms of Bitcoin and in terms of cryptocurrency, I find that women are leading the way in a lot of cases. So there are, and then there's some other things going on over there. One of the celebrities started his own coin, got a contract from to build a crypto city. So I mean, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening internationally that, I try to keep my eyes on to see how it's shaking up around the world, and I like what I see.
Good stuff. And Chris, did you have a question too?
No, it's more of a comment. I really applaud the application of cryptocurrency to serve people that are either unbanked or don't have access to mainstream monetary system, and that's people around the world, but it's also a lot of people in the United States too, and in more impoverished areas. We have a cryptocurrency vending machine in the embassy that anybody can use, and we have a number of people that will come in and buy Bitcoin from the machine just because they can keep their money somewhere. They've had trouble with banks, and they've just decided they don't want to mess with it. So if cryptocurrency really provides another platform, and another way that they can, hold on to and grow their wealth.
Yes, sometimes we forget that we have unbankable people here in this country. You're right, and crypto can be the answer for a lot of things.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's really interesting to see. I think until we started reaching out to everybody, I don't think I had any idea that there was this many organizations around the country sort of all working on this same problem. I don't know. I don't assume we lived in a bubble out here in Denver or how that worked, but it's really exciting to see that. I mean, almost any city that you go to in the country, there's some sort of group or some sort of collection or multiple collections of people all trying to focus in and kind of get the word out about this stuff. So that's really, it gets me really excited. So with that, I think let me check the chat here real quick. They're saying Akon is setting up that city in Africa. I think, is that what?
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely. And with his own coin. His own coin. Yeah. But that's pretty exciting stuff. It's revolutionary. It's it's a way for us to test, those of us in the industry, to have that happen and to see a whole city where crypto is involved in everything. I mean, it's it's exciting for our industry, really, to have that happen, and he's already been awarded the land, and so it's really
moving.
Yeah.
It's moving forward, and definitely something to keep an eye on and see how it pans out. I think there's a lot of a lot of big things have been said about a lot of crypto projects. I don't think that's any surprise to anyone. And stuff is starting to be delivered on, and we're starting to separate a little bit of the wheat from the chaff as the space churns forward. So it's it's exciting to see for sure. Well, let's see. Do you have any parting thoughts? I think I got all the questions there that I wanted to cover, and able to share a little bit about what's going on there in Chicago. Anything to end it off, I guess?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up. If anybody's interested in learning more about the club, we actually take people that don't live in Chicago. It's not a requirement to participate in either in our meetup group or in the MLS Bitcoin Club. They can just reach out to me, and I'd be happy to talk to them about it.
Okay. Reach out to you. What's your preferred method of communication?
Email's good.
Email's good. Okay, we'll share that email here with everybody here shortly. So awesome. Well, thank you for your time. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, and let's see. I think Chill, you're next up on the panelist list. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna be very quick because I have a lot of thoughts and I'm trying to put it together in a short version so I can listen to you guys more. So I agree, building on what Donna said, more women, yes, I'm seeing that as well. More minorities as well, yes. When in 2017, I went to one of the conferences up here in Boulder. There were hardly any minorities. There were hardly any women. And now, I'm seeing more and more, which is exciting. I've seen us go from ICO DeFi boom. And we're seeing a lot of that. And although I'm a bit skeptical about DeFis, I do see some of the good applications. Eric War, he's recently purchased a house with Bitcoin collateral. And I think that's brilliant because he doesn't have to spend Bitcoin, but he also got the mortgage. So I think that is a really good application of DeFi that's actually functional. I've seen On the regulatory side, I've seen states taking lead, which was amazing to see. Wyoming, Chicago, Texas now has, obviously, the Texas Blockchain Coalition. All these little states are kind of pioneering the regulatory environment and trying to reduce cost and burden on innovators, because they've been fleeing to Malta before because there was just so much uncertainty. For someone to launch, for example, an ICO, they had to spend on average $150,000 in billable hours to hire lawyers and get clarity on minor details. So I was excited to see that. Now, again, building on what Donna said, Libra actually opened up Pandora's box for us, because of Libra. Before that, if you guys recall, all the central banks were kind of hesitant on moving forward. And then Libra came, and then they were like, oh, crap. And then they immediately started thinking about their own CBDCs. And so the Davos in 2018 may have been called like, how worried should we be? So they got together, and they were trying to figure out how can they obviously insert themselves in this new financial system. And then that started. So now we have several CBDCs in the oven. We have China, it's already testing in 4 cities. We have France testing. We have a couple of these islands. So that's exciting to see. I would say that I've seen a progress in the ease of use, with the Visa cards, people able to spend Bitcoin now with Visa cards, and it did get a little bit better. I still don't see much adoption when it comes to, entrepreneurs accepting it. So I'm really looking forward to Chris's secret sauce on how to get them to accept Bitcoin. Me and Matt, we are kind of boots on the ground people. So we go out on the street and we interview random folks and have you guys heard of Bitcoin? And we found that a lot of people, actually, all kinds of generations, have heard of Bitcoin. And we found this in Denver, but there was also research done by the Federal Reserve that 70% of the US population is heard of Bitcoin. And they may not be pros, but they know what it is. And I think that's for the brand. It's amazing, because it's the perfect storm now, right? If something were to happen, at least people know Bitcoin. COVID. So COVID-19, I have this personal belief that there's no power in resisting what is. So when COVID-19 happened, in fact, in February already, I was looking at it and I thought, I never had a bad thing in my life that happened to me that didn't turn out to be a blessing. So what's the gift in this? And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, we were just confined to our local little communities and all these, live meetups and teaching people. But now, because of everybody's online, we can expand and we can draw in more people. So we turned all our courses online. We put it on Udemy. And I also got to reach out to you guys. I would never get a chance to, work and, collaborate with you guys if we were still having our meetups and doing our own thing. So super excited about that. And then the last, but not least, obviously, I think this is major. MicroStrategy is a publicly traded company, and they just keep pumping money into Bitcoin. And I think this, them being a market intelligence company, is a statement to the market, to the entire institutional investors. And there was a research recently that 60% of investors are open to add it, institutional investors are open to add it to their portfolio, and 36% already had it. So I think I'm expecting, a very exciting bull run from this. So on to the next person, because I'm open to learn from you guys, and that's all the developments that I've seen.
All right, you heard it here first. We've got the chills calling it. No, I agree. There's a ton of very positive things happening. The not the least of which is like all of this money being printed out of thin air and people wondering, like, I wonder how much my savings are going to be if they pass this next round of stimulus. And watching our purchasing power go down, I think, is a very quick way to start a transition to an alternative asset class and currency, however you want to view it. So yep, no, definitely agree with you there. And this is exciting. It's a new time, new set of challenges, but the people who kind of stay with it and keep working at it, which I feel like everybody who's on this call is definitely one of those people. Working during the bear market and being in it for more than just the price, and it's fun to see. It's really cool. So I appreciate that, Chill, and we'll keep it moving along here. We still have 3 more people, so let's see. I guess eeny meeny miny mo. Chris, how's your day gonna go?
Oh God, who knows? So far so good. I made $2, and maybe she'll remember that I mentioned Bitcoin. That's
sometimes that's all we can ask for.
So what would you like to ask me or talk about?
Well, I think, we talked a little bit about it yesterday, and Chill's alluded to it, and that's, I think, really the business side of adoption. And that's the egg that I haven't been able to crack, and that Chill and I have been working on doing it. And there are, certain situations with like restaurants and places that we come in contact with where we do meetups and events and things like that, but they're a lot more receptive to it because like we're driving business there, and or that they own the restaurant and they're part of our network, our meetup, and our community. But like for somebody just outside of that, it's tough to sell them like, okay, I've got to, I can take a new form of currency, like that's cool, but I have to do more work, and how do the taxes work, and how do I get it set up, and that side of it has been where I've run into, both Chill and I have run into some risks. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I'd love to hear more about that.
Sure. So we hear those are the same objections we get, the same concerns that business owners have. But we kind of do, Bitcoin Embassy and a group of other people that are involved in this, we've done a number of things. So when people come into my store, a lot of them say, I've heard your voice before. It's because they've been hearing on the radio advertisements for free classes at Bitcoin Embassy. So we don't charge for those. They're in-person classes. You can come in and take one, and if you feel you've gained some value out of it, you can make a donation. That's fine. But a lot of people, so putting that stuff outside of just social media has a surprising effect. So on the individual side, that's how we've been able to generate constant numbers of people coming to us and acquiring Bitcoin and learning about it. When we teach people about Bitcoin, the first thing we do is spend 15 minutes on basic economics and explain to them how reverse reserve banking and money printing devastates the buying power of their US dollar. And we spend enough time on that to get them good and angry, and then we go into why Bitcoin is a little different and what has Bitcoin done versus that chart that shows the purchasing power of the US dollar plummeting. I don't even want to see that chart in another year put out by the Federal Reserve. It's going to be horrific. That's actually people's wealth, what they hope to pass on to their children, what they hope to have a retirement with is getting devastated. You are literally saving people's lives. I honestly believe that when you share with them the ideas of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and why they need to look for a safe haven. The time to look for that safe haven is now. You can't stay in the other system. So how do we get people involved? Okay, we offer classes. We also do meetups at various businesses that we want to take cryptocurrency every 6 days. So in the city of Keene, New Hampshire, every 6 days, we're picking another restaurant to go to. And we've overlapped. We hit some 2 or 3 times. But the point is we can get 10 or 15 people in a restaurant and have them all ask, hey, do you guys accept Bitcoin? Do you accept crypto? Can I spend crypto here? And if they say, no, we don't, we just take, cards and cash, that's fine. Excellent, that's fine. When we do encounter some interest from a service person, we'll say, well, we're going to leave you a cash tip anyway. But I'll tell you what, if you load a wallet on your phone, I'll walk you through it. It's really simple, just a couple steps. I'll double your tip. I'll give you the cash, but then we'll give you a crypto tip too. So we get people involved in that for the first time. On the business side, it's really about relationships. We have had people cold call us to just say, I have a new business. I want to accept cryptocurrency. I don't know how to do it. Can you help us out? Those are easy. More often than not, it's going to the same businesses that we deal with every day that are part of our lives already and repeatedly asking them, do you take cryptocurrency? Can I pay with Bitcoin? And eventually, the best one I've heard was yesterday, we finally signed up Fa Keen Great, a Keene-based pho restaurant. We've been talking to them about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. This has to be 3 years, but they finally did it. They finally pulled the plug. So we're happy to have them on board too. It gives us another choice when we meet up and go out to restaurants and pay with cryptocurrency. That is really that's the first part of it. So you've got them to where they accept it. Now, how do they accept it? And you brought up some good points like taxation and things like that. First of all, the mechanics. Everybody in this area that accepts cryptocurrency uses an app called AnyPay. It's based in New Hampshire. Some friends of mine coded it. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see it's just a keypad. And it's available on Android and Apple. If I put $10 in there, I'm going to put in $1 because I'm cheap. I just put in $1 and then I hit the green button. It will display a pay code. What a pay protocol code means that I can send Dash, I can send Bitcoin, I can send Bitcoin Cash, any cryptocurrency that accepts the pay protocol, I can send Bitcoin to that and it'll flash up and it'll say paid. All the wallets, it's non-custodial. They don't hold any of your Bitcoin. It gets taken in by them and it gets just sent directly to the business's wallet.
So give them a public address.
Well, each pay code is going to be generated on the spot, but whatever you have, when you go into the admin side, you say that this is my Bitcoin address. This is my wallet's Bitcoin Cash address. So you can set up a new business in just a few minutes with the AnyPay app. That is a big thing because they don't want to go through a lot of steps. They just want one thing. It used to be that I would open up, Bitcoin, or I would open up, Dash. It used to look like this, where I had to pick the coin. Now with the pay protocol, it all goes to one QR code, and on the back end, they figure out what it was they sent, which is kind of cool. So that's reduced things. When I talk to businesses and they bring up, how do you deal with taxes? I'm in my second small business just in this space and many more before that, because we're dealing relatively with small amounts. I'm not talking about my convenience store bringing in $10,000 worth of cryptocurrency. It's not going to be that. So we treat it as cash transactions. That's how it's audited. That's in our books as cash. And we do maintain in QuickBooks a separate account that contains our Bitcoin. We change all other coins into Bitcoin. And you'd be surprised, but I'd wager most small business accountants know exactly how to deal with a foreign currency. It's all built into QuickBooks. It's all right there. All you have to do is open it up. And that can take some people to take some expertise to understand how to do that. But hey, we have YouTube. So that makes the answer to that question pretty simple, and from an accounting point of view.
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware of that. I was always just like, well, here's an accountant that understands crypto stuff. I don't think it's a very simple. Yeah, it's very simple and elegant. I like that. I'm going to use that if you don't mind.
No, please.
Awesome. Well, let's see here. Well, I guess that's thank you for that answer. That definitely answered the question I had. Did anybody else on the call here have an additional question for Chris, kind of about what he just described? Jill, did you?
Oh, great. I do. Chris.
Oh yeah, Donna.
I
Jill.
was just wondering that when you're training business owners, or are you training, your average community person, or are you doing? I know you did the restaurant example, so that could be both, right? The entrepreneur and the waiter. But you're doing these every 6 days. That's quite a schedule to keep up and get people to turn out. It's a challenge to get people to turn out once a month. So I'm impressed with that.
We've been doing that for years. Literally, it's crazy. New Hampshire is filled with a lot of libertarian-minded activists who are into crypto. So, Keene has always been either the number one or the number two highest number of businesses per capita, not in New Hampshire, but in the world. So when I take you around a town of 25,000 people, there's 30 or so businesses right now that accept cryptocurrency. That's a big number for that small of an area. So, and we keep trying to build it and build it and build it. But it's always a challenge. We found the reason we do so many meetups is we can always count on, 5 or 6 of us to show up. And we know that some other people are going to find us and they'll come in for the first time. And those meetups are just about answering any questions and helping them out any way they can. And supporting businesses that are accepting cryptocurrency. That's the other half of it. Or hitting up a new business that doesn't take cryptocurrency yet.
Awesome. Yeah. Jill, you had a question, right, Jill?
Yeah. So first, thank you for sharing that. I really love that. That's such an elegant solution that can be used anywhere, right? So
Yes.
Okay. My other question, which was the second challenge that we have here, is a lot of users don't want to spend their Bitcoin because it's a depreciating asset. So it's kind of hard. Were you guys suggesting them to spend, with C or Dash or some kind of other coin or?
In New Hampshire, for the last couple of years, Dash has made a big splash because Dash will hire somebody in an area. They'll hire people to go into Venezuela and hawk Dash. They were doing that in New Hampshire too. So they became sort of a de facto coin. There was a lot of activism from the Dash people. There was a lot of activism for the Bitcoin Cash crowd. Bitcoin, I would say the two most accepted coins in New Hampshire are Bitcoin. Bitcoin's always accepted, but nobody wants to part with it. So most people will spend Bitcoin Cash or they will spend Dash. and that's fine with me. I'm a Bitcoin guy. I kind of scoff at everything else. I don't expect everybody to be the same way. And from a business point of view, I'll take your money any way I can. That's in my best interest. And if it gets you involved in cryptocurrency or more involved, that's in your best interest too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for sharing all the secrets of the sausage factory.
There's no magical bullet. It's just hard work and building relationships. Who would have thought? There's not a shortcut. Dang it. Well, yeah. I echo what Chill's saying there. I appreciate the insight, and we'll definitely be incorporating a couple of those into our sort of pitch and how we approach things here. So yeah, awesome. So let's see here. With that, I think I'm going to move up to Mike. How are you doing? You still with us there, man? And hanging in there?
I'm still here. I can talk. I can listen to this all night. This has been a constant learning experience since I got in this space. Like I said, I don't remember. I think it's 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Once you're on that rabbit hole, you're there for good.
Definitely. Once you drink the Kool-Aid, right? It's all over. So how did you get into the space, and what do you like that's going on today that wasn't there maybe in the past when you first got in?
Yeah. My neighbor's son was doing an internship with the company I used to work with, and he was talking about mining and making money. And I said, "You're crazy. That's not possible." But thankfully, he rode around my car all summer, and it was very fortunate for me. So I learned about Bitcoin back in 2013, and I think it was only a few $100s. And I went to the Bitcoin conference in Miami, and I'm still mad that I paid for everything with Bitcoin. But anyways, I've been in this space for quite a long time, and what I'm really enjoying now, from what I saw back in the last bull run in 2017, is the organic growth. We're doing it the right way now. Back in 2017, I would wake up every day and I'd be making money. It just wasn't sustainable. It just kept going up and up and up with the whole ICO craze, and it was really just built on a house of cards. And I like the way it's being built now. Back then, when you had any news of a partnership, the coin would go up 30%. Now it's a steady growth, and it may go up, but it doesn't have to go up such an extravagant amount. And the other thing that I'm seeing is the press. We don't think about it, but like when I watch CNBC, and they have pretty much a whole talk on the cryptocurrency market, which is amazing. Before it would just be, oh, Bitcoin, they would just mention it and play it off that it was, something not worth talking about. Now we're actually having it on a ticker on the bottom. I love it. So I think the growth, I'm really enjoying it, because again, it's a steady growth. Even during this COVID, you would think we would be really in trouble, and we bounced back. I mean, we had a dip, obviously, with the stock market, but we proved that we can bounce back.
All right, let's rock this out. Okay, so Mike, bringing it back to you here. Can you tell us a little bit about the training academy and how that came about, or why? Yeah, what got you involved in that and making that? That seems like something that's kind of new and exciting.
Yeah. Again, back in 2013 or 2014, I had to learn everything by myself, and it was tough. Not gonna lie. I would find myself just doing all my research or going through Reddit, and it's not unbiased. I have a lot of biased people on Reddit, so I couldn't find really a true answer to my questions. And you can't really trust anybody. So I come from an education background. I have a master's in education, and I've spent some time teaching. So I said, why don't we create some type of training center to really have some trusted instructors who aren't really shilling a coin or anything like that. So I reached out to some instructor or to some people that I know, and I made sure that they were, vetted. I had them take an exam that I created to make sure that they knew the information. And from there, we built a curriculum that really just takes people from step one, kind of like Chris does, just right from the beginning, even Donna, just showing people step one. But then you also have more advanced, information such as trading or a little bit more advanced features if they're interested. But we find that just the intro class is what everybody was doing. And again, we were looking to start rolling, and it just COVID hit, and we had to put the brakes on. But we're pivoting to more virtual, more like a mentoring. So stay tuned, because we have like a kind of like a sister company that allows you can have your own coach, or you can have your own one-on-one mentoring, because a lot of people like Donna and Chris were saying, or even Chill, that they just have that fear. They're in front of their computer. They're like, wait, should I send it? And you could be sharing the screen, and as long as they're not showing any of their private keys, you can walk them through it and say, nope, that's good. You're doing the right thing. And they really need that hand holding sometimes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's something, one of my other sources of income is crypto consulting and helping people, one-on-one with that, and the Zoom call. And, they've got a nano ledger on the other side. So there's never any, risk of that, as long as they're not putting their 24 words up to this
right.
camera, and so it's been a really interesting way to help people get it, and feel, you get that one-on-one kind of hand-holding experience, but it's all virtual, and try to line up a bunch of appointments like throughout the day. And it's really cool. I feel like we all sort of are taking similar approaches with our own little twists on them to really the same problem, which is just, okay, people want to learn about this. Mm-hmm. It's kind of tough to learn about. How do we get them into the space? And, Chris, I hadn't thought about it the way you phrased it, as like literally saving lives. But if someone's able to preserve their wealth and, live the quality of life that they want to, and then pass that on to their children, and if all of a sudden that's ripped away from them, I'm sure that does at some point have an effect on somebody's life. And that's really cool. Well, right on. Thanks for sharing that. And I think the last one is what do you see kind of coming next? If I ask you to gaze into the crystal ball for 2025, where do you see the space at, or I guess, or even where would you like to see it?
Yeah, again, I think it's growing the correct way. It takes a while. We all want to be at that adoption phase right now, but that's just not how this is working with regulation. And I understand that, we're starting to make more headway each day with more adoption. We have different use cases. We're tracing COVID results or on the blockchain. So I think we're making progress. What I see is, again, what would really be, I think, the most beneficial way to have this work is, I'm sure you've heard it, is to have this being used when they're not even using it. People could be using blockchain when they're not even using it. Like Chris had that app. That app has to be a common app. And I think what's going to really push us over right to adoption is we just need one big company or one big banking feature, to just incorporate that right in their app. Like a Wells Fargo, whatever. Just say, or not even a bank, but maybe like a company that just automatically includes that right in their everyday app, because everything is apps. But I think we're going to get there. It's just taking a little bit longer. And when we start hearing about interoperability with tokens and blockchains, once we start joining real world companies like BMW, and they're working with supply chain. Once you start putting those together, we're getting there. They're already working together. Once this really starts to go mainstream, I think it's going to really take off.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many exciting developments in the space. I mean, honestly, you start to get numb to it a little bit, and you really have to. I mean, me personally, I had to get choosy with what I wanted to, what I wanted to focus on or what I wanted to stay informed on, because there's just so much noise out there. But yeah, I mean, the more legitimized it can be, the more interest that the public's going to probably have in it. Yeah, Chris, I saw you had a question for Mike. I think you're muted. Sorry, Chris.
Now I'm good. Talking about the big company to come along and do something major. I'm most optimistic about Square. Jack Dorsey is big in the space. He's getting more and more involved. What I really want to see is the Square Register, which is used by tons and tons of small businesses to initially get Bitcoin integration. That would be huge. Yeah. The other thing that I would see that we're seeing is, I've run small businesses, and there's always an industry-specific point of sale that is always the most popular. And in the last 2 point of sale systems I've used in my businesses, they both have open APIs. So that opens the doorway to easy integration of another payment method. So I'm doing work with AnyPay now to do integration for my new business. But really, for the customer to be able to pay right there at the register and get a receipt that says you paid with Bitcoin, that's kind of cool and kind of neat. The last thing I would add is that this is an opportunity for the technically minded to begin to do these very low-level, easy integrations just involving APIs. I'm kind of a tech guy, so I apologize if I'm using terms that everybody might not be aware of, but there is a tremendous opportunity to be an integrator and other avenue for revenue for a lot of these small businesses. That's all I had.
Yeah, no, I agree, Chris. I think we need that one big player, though. I mean, it's great that we can have all this, and all this in technology, but if we have one big PayPal, or all it takes is one, and all of them will jump on board, even Amazon or anybody, just to say, look, we're incorporating cryptocurrency. The problem that I have is going back to what you guys, Csilla, and you were talking about, Chris, is I don't see it working accepting Bitcoin. Again, what Csilla said, accepting an appreciated asset, I just don't think will work. I think it's almost going to have to come with maybe a Tether or something like that, or maybe Libra, like Donna was saying. It's got to be something that's steady, because I know me, I don't want to use my Bitcoin. I don't want to use any of my cryptos, because I know they're going up, and I think people are going to catch on to that. So if we can create some type of really regulated standard, like a Tether type, or maybe even Tether, I think that will really help. I think that's what's needed, because I don't see it. Bitcoin has to be a store of value. It can't be used as both a store of value and a method of currency. It's just not going to work. And I think that's what's impeding us too. If we can just establish a Bitcoin, your store of value, I think it would go through the roof.
You want to respond there, Chris?
We can't figure it out.
Yeah. Money means a lot of different things, and a feature of money is a store of value, and Bitcoin itself is very good at that. I will say that Bitcoin Cash has kind of gone the other way. So why do you want to spend your hard-earned crypto in my stores? I've always done a 5% discount if you paid in crypto.
Well, that's good.
Well, yeah. I value cryptocurrency more than I value the US dollar. And honestly, and people will respond to things like that. We have to be kind of creative in how we approach it. And I don't disagree with you that we need a big player. I mean, we've had Overstock for years. But that was kind of an island, and we had Expedia for years, and Newegg for years. But we need a financial services player. For that, I'm going to have to look to Wyoming as likely the hottest spot for that to happen, because Wyoming has redefined, no, I won't say redefined, they've legally defined cryptocurrencies, and they've done it legislatively. And the Avanti Bank up there, run by Caitlin Long, I mean, that is going to be a major thing. I mean, I hate to go back to Kraken, but Kraken talking Wyoming, what world am I in? This is crazy talk.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what they're doing up there and what Caitlin's doing. I mean, we've sort of had a peek behind the curtain a little bit, because they come down here and we go up to Wyo Hackathon, and Tyler Lindholm and some of those legislators are down here at ETH Denver this year, so we get a little bit of a closer look at it. And they've been, a lot of smart people have been putting in a lot of hard work for not just the 6 months that you've been hearing about it, but for years now. So it's it's very cool to see. Chill, what would you had something?
Yeah, I would like to add that recently the Fed came out with an announcement of what they call flexible inflation rate.
Mm-hmm.
And they called it flexible because one of the billionaires mentioned that it could be 5 to 10%. And they didn't want to come out with a 5-10%. They just called it flexible. And what I'm seeing right now is a huge opportunity for an accelerated adoption. If Bitcoin takes off before 2023, when the Fed now is officially launching, and I can see, a lot of collaborations, because you guys are all movers and shakers in your own state. And what I found in Colorado, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in every state, is that any kind of blockchain legislation or hackathon or event or anything is usually linked to the same 5 to 10 people who are making it happen. Mm-hmm. And I see that if we can get, these businesses, and we can get like more, practical and on the ground adoption between now and 2023, there's not going to be going back to people jumping on the CBDC. I mean, people will use that because, just like Mike said, we need a stable, reliable way to transact without the fear of volatility. But in terms of store of value, people will, what I found, especially with newcomers, they quickly learn that, oh my God, this is actually gonna, save my wealth. And they stop, transacting with it.
Yeah. It's a catch-22, I think. But because if everyone was transacting in it, then you would get your salary in Bitcoin, and you would earn Bitcoin for mowing lawns, and you would get your allowance in Bitcoin, and then you would turn around and you would spend that Bitcoin. And so you'd have it coming in, you'd have it going out, and so then you're a little more comfortable with the volatility probably in that scenario. But in the current state, it's much easier to get your hands on it versus to go and spend it frictionlessly wherever you want to. I mean, some of those Visa debit cards, those crypto debit cards are getting close, but I still had to jump through quite a few hoops. And I mean, I really only use them for emergencies. If I'm somewhere unfamiliar, I don't have my wallet or whatever, I can get a couple $100 out of an ATM for whatever Bitcoin I've loaded on there. But Yeah, it's that's interesting. I like your plan. By 2023, we've got to get this adoption train at full steam and make sure we don't switch over to Fed now and we actually get some sound money. I like that. I like that a lot. Well, cool. Well, yeah, I think that was a good. There's some good nuggets in there. Definitely, Mike. Thank you for answering those. And with that, I think Leon, how are you doing? You still with us?
Yeah, still here. Yeah, great conversations. And love listening to everyone here in chat. And we should definitely all connect after this is over.
Yeah.
So the three questions: what has changed since the last bull run? So I'll go over some positives and negatives in my opinion. So we're starting to see what's exciting, in my opinion, is we're starting to see a lot of next generation products starting to launch now. Chains that basically scalable chains, improvements to chains, interconnectivity with different chains. So your projects like Cosmos and Polkadot, and it just more and an explosive growth in DeFi, which I think is more exciting than the ICO boom. Which like for most retail people, they only know the ICO boom. They're missing out on what's going on in DeFi at the moment. And there's a ton of more growth in Bitcoin funds and investments by institutions. And so that's where the adoption, in my opinion, is happening at the moment. And so that's Bitcoin funds, and then also growth in value locked up in the DeFi space. So at the start of the year, I believe like AUM and DeFi was like 400 million. Then all of a sudden it was like 4 billion, and now it's like 9 billion. Like it's just insane. And developer growth is accelerating too. It's just so like how when you had these different phases of the internet rollout, right? And then all of a sudden, like if you started like learning web development, I'm like you were gonna have like a career for the next few decades, like locked in, right? Like the best salaries and whatnot. So I see that the next 10, 20 years, I mean, blockchain developer, substrate developer, that's going to be another career path for many young people and other current developers.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So the negatives though, like, so since the last bull run, we just seen this exponential growth of tribalism in the space. And we've always had that, right? We always had like some investors who they only invest in one coin and they shill just their coin. And in my opinion, it just causes a lot of like noise and confusion online. So you have the different armies and Marines and on the Bitcoin side, you have the Bitcoin maximalism, and which I feel like they're more so hurting the space than helping. Just because of what. So I get the whole like it's promoting sound money, and that's what we all have been doing. But when you try to tell people to only have one asset in their portfolio in this particular asset class, once you get to early adopters, I mean, you're going to have much more seasoned investors, right? And these guys know to diversify and stuff like that. So that's just going to fall on deaf ears. And so in maximalism and all these different coins, I mean, they have traits of politics and religion kind of embedded in them. And so, and it's, but I feel like we will get past that, right? So this is just growing pains. This is like where the chasm is about to get jumped from like the early innovators to like the early adoption phase. So what's new and exciting? So, do you want to ask me any questions on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't have one, but I didn't know if anybody else had a question for you. But if not, I'll give it just a sec. We good? Okay. So yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, what's new and exciting, in my opinion, it's the DeFi space and seeing how we're still in kind of like the 90s era of the internet, and the internet of finances is, in my opinion, going to impact the world exponentially greater than like the decentralization of information, right? So think of the internet as like, decentralization of information, and and now you cannot have a business, you cannot survive in the modern era without the internet, right? So the same thing is going to happen with finances and money, and just think of the impact of that, right? It's going to be 10, 100 times grander on the scale, and there are going to be innovations and potentially, earthquakes in our current society that aren't even going to be understood yet until it happens, and we're not going to see that till probably another 10 years or so, or probably with the speed things are going within 10 years. And so I'm excited about products and services that we can't even imagine right now. Like in 10 years, what are we going to have, right? Like streaming money. We're going to have, we could see the end of poverty, in our lifetimes because of cryptocurrencies. So exciting stuff that's coming in our future.
There's a lot of possibilities for sure. There's I think, that's kind of why I've been going to hazard a guess here. I don't want to speak for everyone, but that's why probably a lot of us or all of us are in this space, is just because the different doors that this type of technology and its applications unlocks is a lot of tools to make a better, more equitable space for everybody, and to also come up with these things we would have never thought of or even dreamed of before. And that's definitely part of the allure for myself, is that frontiersman type approach. But I think when I talked to my wife about it and other people, they're a lot more interested on the how are we making society better with this, which is also a huge component of it. So I think those two things combined make a very exciting story, a very compelling, very, very compelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then the last question. So the path forward, what's next, and adoption. So unfortunately, in my opinion, this next upcoming crypto bull cycle is going to be led by institutions, not retail. So retail people, they had their big chance. Well, back in 2017, this is really the only asset class where the general population could get into before like the big players could already encompass the market, right? Like when commodities, right? Who corners the market? The big rice farmers, right? And the same thing with industrials and the stock market and whatnot. And this is the first time where not only is money decentralized and it's sovereign in its own way without a nation state, anyone can get into it, get access now before bigger players. But I think because a lot of retail got burnt in 2017, this is a new asset class, so very volatile, and that's going to be rough to take on a lot of new investors. So that's going to happen. And also, my thoughts on U.S. adoption is it's going to be the investors, right? So the use case of cash, that's going to be more a third world kind of adoption, and that's how they're going to protect their wealth when their local currency, like the real or the peso, is just getting inflated the way, and they lose their wealth. And U.S. dollars is what they want, but it's illegal to own. So like in my opinion, like that the medium of exchange and unit of account is already kind of like starting to take place heavily in the third world, and in the U.S. specifically, because we currently have the dominant global reserve currency, which we're kind of like at the tail end of that, if we speaking macro wise. But like we're just going to be using the dollar here still for day to day, and eventually that might be the U.S. coin. Is that like I see that happening once China launches their coin and the U.S. wants to compete. And yeah, so it's going to be in investors. It's going to be like the 20% of the population that are already in the stock market. And another thing is adoption is going to be driven by the younger generation too. So millennials they don't trust banks as much as previous generations, and they're a generation that grew up with the internet, with paying for things in games and digital currencies already. So as they get older and they inherit wealth from the boomer generation, this is where we're going to see more of a massive adoption, number-wise, right? Population-wise. I feel like price-wise and value-wise, like just institutions in the U.S. are going to drive this to tens of trillions of dollars, because it's so small, right? We're $300 billion. Gold is 9 trillion. Art is 17 trillion. Like derivatives is 500 trillion to a quadrillion. So that there's a lot of money out there that's going to flow into cryptocurrencies this next decade, this next 5 years. But unfortunately, it's not going to be coming from retail. But yeah,
Okay.
My hope is there's going to be some in the younger populations that get into it.
Okay. All right. It sounds like you put a lot of thought into this. Is there anybody else who has any questions? Because I have one, but I want to let y'all go first.
I wanted to ask you, Leon, what do you think about what's going on internationally speaking? You mentioned the China coin, and what do you see happening around the world?
Yes, yeah. So everything we see around the world right now, you kind of have to like peel away the layers of propaganda and stuff like that. It's basically China versus the U.S. So you kind of have like this, and it's mostly around currency and this kind of trade war, like term stuff like TikTok's hacking us or Huawei. It's all this stuff is basically the U.S. trying to prolong the dominance of the U.S. dollar, and we've fought wars in the past to preserve that, and China rising to be, and then trying to make the yuan the global reserve currency. And if you look throughout history, every dominant country, it gets there through education first, then commerce, then military, and then they dominate with the currency. And that usually lasts about 100 years. It ranges anywhere from 50 years to 200 years. And in every life cycle with the empire works out this way. So you have the Dutch, then the British, then the Americans, and currently, we have China kind of like heading up that way. And now, of course, the hope for all Bitcoiners is like, instead of going with another nation state currency, we go with something that's sovereign in itself by a protocol, right? So, and it just makes sense that Bitcoin should be that global reserve currency. And so, yeah, I see it as more than just two nation states battling it out. It's gonna be two nation states plus this sovereign protocol.
I like that.
Did I ask you a question, or was there a different part of that question that I didn't touch?
I think you got it. I was gonna shoot. I really liked your answer. I forgot the question that I was gonna ask. But that's maybe, I guess it wasn't a very good question then if I can't remember it. Well, awesome. Yeah, I like that perspective. I definitely agree with you that China is on the come up, so to speak, and that the U.S. is maybe entering a bit of a twilight period where I think we may have. I mean, just the fiat system. It's not a tenable thing. Like, you can't just trust people to make the right decision 100% of the time, and a lot of the time it's way more complicated than just like, is this the right thing to do or not? And you get politics involved and all this other stuff, and then who does it end up hurting? Well, it ends up hurting everybody who uses the system, and generally and usually disproportionately the people at the lower rungs of the ladder on that system. And so, yeah, I'm doing everything I can to make sure Bitcoin is our next reserve currency, and I think everybody else here is as well. And maybe that's a good place to end it. I think we're just over an hour and a half here, and we got to everyone. I think the final thing I would say is this will not be our last panel event. So if you tuned into this, and sorry I got cut short, but if you're watching the video here, We're going to be doing many, many more of these, and we're trying to just really find a good group of people with some good varied perspectives from different places around the country, and just talk about whatever we think the communities want to hear each week or every couple of weeks. So tune back in, make sure you're watching for those, and you probably see a few of the same faces that are on the call here again. So yeah, with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the call. Really great. You guys gave us your time this evening, and you know, everybody here at the OPI, let's keep building the open economy that we all deserve. Thanks, everybody.
Amen.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Yep. Bye.